Afternoon, folks. It's good to get back with you, so to speak, a little bit. Got a few bottles of wine today we want to introduce you to. I'm going to lead you through a little tasting here. Some fun things, some different things. If you're not familiar with these wines, then I would suggest you might well want to get into them. So we're going to start off with this Anton Bauer. It's a great small producer from Austria. I'm going to show you how to open these bottles too, the way I like to do it. This is a screw cap, so they're not as hard as some bottles. You do it like that. And then just we'll pour a little bit in here. So Anton Bauer, the wine is Gruner Veltliner. It's funny, as much as we've been promoting this wine, as long as I've had the store, because it's one I found and love. It's not Riesling, but it has some similarities to it. It's just a wonderful, wonderful grape variety. There's actually more being grown in Virginia now. More and more producers are picking it up, although not a lot. But most of it that you'll find comes from Austria. It's their key grape. They do a wonderful job with it. Very, very versatile, enjoyable wine. This is a small single vineyard production. Gruner's such a wonderful, mildly, not super, but mildly aromatic wine. You have to pay close attention, but oftentimes with Gruner, you can pick up these little hints of white pepper in the wine. And that may sound strange, especially for a white wine, but trust me, it's a wonderful thing. It's got nice acidity to it. Maybe not as strong as Riesling is. Those of you know me know I love Riesling, but I love Gruner as well. But still got good acidity. It's crisp, some nice little apple and citrus type flavors to it. Will go well with so many different white meats, lighter fish, salads, a lot of vegetables, a lot of summer fare. Would I necessarily purposely pair this with something heavier like some barbecue? You know, if you just did a nice long smoke with a pork shoulder or something, or hamburgers, might not be the perfect pairing, but you know what? On a warm summer day, it certainly wouldn't be a terrible thing. All right, now we're going to move on to an area in Spain, Valencia. And we've got a kind of unique one. I want to show you how I'm going to open this wine too. Let me show you what most people do with wine when they open it. That's where they cut the capsule. We won't have you put in jail for that, but if you talk to someone who's gone for a Master of Sommelier degree, they would tell you to cut the capsule down there. That's the better place. And then we put our, as I like to call it, the worm down in here. And then just pop it right out. Bottle smells good. So, it's a wine called Bliss. Again, it's from Valencia, Spain. It's 10% Tempranillo, 10% Cabernet Sauvignon, but the grape that's kind of fun in here is the 80% Bobal. It's a grape that is dominant. It is most of the grape grown in the Valencia area. It produces a somewhat rich and soft style of wine typically. It had been used a lot in bulk wines, but when it's grown at the right altitudes and properly, it can make a pretty impressive wine, and this is one, and it does represent a great little value. Got a nice, rich, dark fruit nose on it. This wine impresses me every time I taste it. When I think of the the quality and the richness that I'm getting here, as opposed to the low price of it. This is just delicious. This has got rich, dark fruit. It does have a little bit of a softness to it, but not in a, I hate to say it, not in a wimpy way. It's a bold wine, but it doesn't have super heavy tannins that really can be overpowering in some cases. This is delicious. I would serve this with all sorts of red meats, pork, even dark meat chicken would be fine, and vegetables done in a richer way could work there. That's delicious. So now the third wine, and a lot of people would question me on this. A good sparkling wine generally has really bright acidity to it. And that acidity has a tendency to kind of take over what's going on in your mouth and make the wines coming after it harder to taste and not show their true form. So I found, for me personally at least, that doing a sparkling wine at the end, even if it's a white wine, as this will be after a red, is the way to do it. So the other thing I want you to get a grasp of here is how I open the bottle of wine. And why this is important. There's roughly 100 psi, pounds of pressure in here on most bottles of wine. It can vary a little bit, but think 100 psi. These corks are hard. That means you've got a serious projectile. Could take out the light in your dining room or kitchen, could make your spouse or neighbor pretty ticked off if you hit them in the eye with it or whatever. So here's the deal. We're going to loosen this cage here. But from the time I start to loosen the cage, I've got my thumb on that cork, and I will not let go of this cork. I don't take the cage off the cork. We'll take the cage and the cork out together. I'm putting the bottle at an angle. What this does is, pressure is always going up, right? So by holding it at an angle, I help dissipate that pressure along the side of the bottle as opposed to straight at the cork a little bit. And then this cork's ready to come out. Sometimes you have to work with them a little bit. And what you do is you hold the cork and you twist and pull from the bottom of the bottle. That's like putting a wrench on something. I'm actually pushing back on the cork right now to keep it from coming out. But here we go. We're going to let the fun begin. Also, you want to let it come out slowly. You shouldn't hear much, if anything, if I do it right. Oops. I'm not going to say it felt good. Okay, so that's out, but if you notice, we did that without having it foam all over the place. I'll give myself a little rinse here. Just a small amount of alcohol abuse. Okay, so this is a nice little French sparkling wine, not from Champagne, from an area called Touraine, which is in the Loire Valley. It's made from the grape 100% Chenin Blanc. Chenin Blanc is a much maligned grape because years and years ago it was used to make a number of cheap sweet wines, fine for what they were and whatnot. But it's made great dry wines, great sparkling wines. Vouvray, which is from the Loire Valley where Touraine is again, is a wine that can go from totally dry to have a little bit of sweetness to it. But even the sweeter Vouvrays are they're not sticky sweet. They're not overly sweet. They're an enjoyable level of sweetness, if you will. This is made method traditional, which is the same method as champagne. So we won't go into that here. Maybe in a future video we will. But it's a time-consuming, relatively expensive, if you will, way of making a sparkling wine, but it gives it quality and character. Let's do the important part. Got nice mousse or bubble. This has nice little tiny bubbles in it. I don't know if you can see the bubbles along the edge of the glass. They're showing a little bit larger, but right down in the middle here are some really tiny, beautiful bubbles. I mean, a little bit smaller and I wouldn't be able to see them. Delicious. This wine it's dry, but it has a fairly nice richness to it. Whereas some sparkling wines made, like a lot of champagnes and whatnot, true champagnes I'm talking about, have kind of a biscuity or yeasty characteristic to it. This doesn't have a lot of that, but it's extremely enjoyable. A wonderful aperitif. Serve it with appetizers and lighter foods. Just sitting around sipping on. A beautiful thing. Well, thank you for spending a little bit of your Tuesday afternoon with us, enjoying some wine, and hopefully it won't be too long before we can all do this together in the store again. And we do love seeing you, and we do appreciate everything you do for us. Cheers.